जे मैं उस तो बड़ा जो कोई है ही नहीं, फिर तो ਅਸੀਂ ਇੰਨੀਆਂ ਜ਼ਿਆਦੀਆਂ problems क्यों face करोगे? Realize oneness with the universal spirit. Recognize the sameness in all, so you don't discriminate against anybody. जीवन मुक्ता, अपने जीवन ਨੂੰ ਆਪਣੇ ਪੰਜ ਵਿਕਾਰਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਦੂਰ ਕਰਨਾ ਤੇ experience peace, harmony and bliss. ਇਹੀ ਸਾਡੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਸਿਖਾਇਆ ਗਿਆ ਤੇ ਇਹੀ ਆਪਾਂ ਪ੍ਰੈਕਟਿਸ ਕਰਨਾ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. So, right now I'd like to put our main focus on where we stand today in respect to the Guru Granth Sahib Ji and how we can incorporate the Guru's teachings into our everyday lives. So, if we go back to look at the historical aspect of the Guru Granth Sahib Ji, we'll see that it was first written to provide as a guide for all Sikhs of the correct way to live and to act as a resource for Sikhs in the future. So what's especially remarkable about the Guru Granth Sahib Ji is that it doesn't just have writings of people who are important in the Sikh religion. It also has writings from Hindu and Muslim saints. And the quote on the screen right now, "Sab Sikhan ko hukum hai, Guru Manyo Granth," was said by Guru Gobind Singh Ji when he passed down Gurudom to the Guru Granth Sahib Ji, and it translates exclusively in English to mean, all Sikhs are commanded to take the Granth as the Guru. So now, just to summarize briefly some of the main teachings that we can find in the Guru Granth Sahib Ji, when we look through it, we'll find that truth is a reoccurring theme. In fact, you can summarize most of the Sikh philosophy with the quote, "Realization of truth is higher than all else, but higher still is truthful living." Also, unlike other religions that focus on the concepts of heaven and hell, Sikhism's main focus is on the idea of spiritual union with God, which ultimately leads to salvation. The things that can deter people from this path that has been set for us are known as the 5 evils. All of these are forms of Maya, and they're Kam, Krodh, Lobh, Moh, and Hunkar, which mean ego, greed, anger, attachment, and lust. So, Sikhism also, another thing that's unique to Sikhism is the idea of the 3 pillars, which was founded by Guru Nanak Dev Ji, and means Kirat Karna, which is to earn an honest living, Nam Japna, which is meditation, and Vanchakna, which means to share your earnings with others. So, when we read the Guru Granth Sahib Ji, we're taking in a mass amount of information. So there's some basic principles that we can draw and that kind of summarize the ideas of the Guru Granth Sahib Ji. And these principles are really important, and they're things that we should try to incorporate into our everyday lives. So the first one is equality. We have to remember that when Sikhism was first getting on its feet a couple hundred years ago, women basically had no rights. We've all heard the stories of women who were burned after their husbands were killed. The caste system was incredibly prevalent. So Guru Nanak Dev Ji believed strongly in the idea that all humans are equal in the eyes of God. So there's no discrimination on the basis of caste, gender, religion, stuff like that. So basically, Sikhs acknowledge all human beings as one. So as you read through the Guru Granth Sahib Ji, you'll find that universal equality and brotherhood are very important concepts. So then the next principle that we have is personal right. So every human being is entitled to the right of life, but as Sikhs, we're expected to rise early, we're expected to meditate and pray, and most importantly, we're expected to perform honest work so that we can earn an honest living. Then the idea that actions count, the importance of your actions. Salvation is essentially obtained by the actions that you make in your lifetime. So it's important to earn an honest living and give to those who are less fortunate. Also, living a life oriented towards family, providing and nurturing for your family, especially for children who can't provide for themselves. Sharing, giving to charity is a very big part of the Sikh religion, as we all know, because we're all equal. None of us are higher or lower than anybody else, and some of us are very fortunate to be born into the positions that we were, and there are people who aren't as lucky as us, so it's our duty as Sikhs to help these people. I'm sure we've all heard of giving 10% of your earnings to the less fortunate. Then, a very important part again of Sikhism is accepting God's will, or hukam. So, all things, good and bad, happen according to God's will. So, ideally, a Sikh wants to be able to recognize both happy and miserable events as one. And then also we'll find the 4 fruits of life. This has been defined as the Guru Granth Sahib Ji to be truth, contentment, contemplation, and Naam, or in the name of God. So we have to keep in mind that a truthful life can only be conducted by a pure and truthful mind, and living in contentment and a positive attitude, or chardika, is important. So then the quote on the screen right now, Aval siftet duji savuri, ije halemi chote keri, panjve. 1 second. Whoops. Right. But the quote actually got cut off on the screen, but it can translate to mean, first is the Lord's praise, second, contentment, third, humility, fourth, charity, and fifth is to hold one's desires in restraint. These are the 5 most sublime daily prayers. So now the question arises. We can read the Guru Granth Sahib Ji, we can read about all of these things that we should be doing, but reading it is one thing, and incorporating the teachings that we're reading every day into our lives is the important thing. So there are various ways that we can learn of the message: singing, reading, listening. They're all viable ways. But more important than the method that you're using, it's important to make sure that you're combining the teachings that you're reading of into your everyday lives. So some people have found that reading, just taking one passage of Gurbani a day, reading it thoroughly, making sure that you understand every single word, and then making a promise to yourself that you'll take what you've read and using those teachings in your life can be more useful than reading hours of a day of something that you don't really understand that well. So now I wanted to talk a little bit about where we stand today. So Sikhs, while we're arguably quite united, we're also ironically separated, maybe even more so than we've been in a while. And that's because there are a lot of social pressures that can target especially the youth, and these can all cause somebody to go a distance from the Sadh Sangat, the Gurdwara, and the teachings of the Guru Granth Sahib Ji. But on the contrary, some of the technological advances that have been made, such as translating Gurbani into various languages, have allowed people who might not understand Gurmukhi, for example, to join the Sadh Sangat because they have their own way of understanding Gurbani. So this has caused people from many backgrounds to be united, and they've all joined the Sangat. So just to tie together some of the loose ends here, let's just go back to the historical aspect for 1 second, and we'll see that when the Guru Granth Sahib Ji was first created hundreds of years ago, Guru Arjan Dev Ji wanted not only to provide a guide for the Sikhs, but he wanted to affirm the unity of all religions. So the Guru Granth Sahib Ji was written at a time when the caste system paralyzed the conscience of man, and becoming a follower of the Sikh creed could separate somebody from this. So we have to keep in mind the virtues of Sikhism, which are truth, sat, contentment, santokh, love, ishq, mercy, daya, service, seva, forgiveness, maafi, and humility, or nimrata. These are all virtues that we should make a point of incorporating into our everyday lives. So when Sikhism was first founded hundreds of years ago, we were a very respected religion, and we continue to be a respected religion today. It's our duty as Sikhs to educate and inform not only ourselves but others of the powerful teachings that construct Sikhism. The time is now, and we have to act before Sikhism becomes a dying religion. We can do this by incorporating the teachings of the Gurus into our everyday lives, giving a solid example to the ideas and concepts that we read about. By doing so, we not only become closer to ourselves, but to God, and we will lead much more fulfilling lives. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
बड़ा सुख है पर जिन्होंने किया आफरीन है ते आपां सारे अज गुरु जी का शुकराना करांगे कि साडे बच्चों नूं उन्होंने इन्नी हिम्मत, इन्ना हौसला, इन्ना प्यार, इन्नी शिद्दत दे नाल उन्होंने पेश किया। ये दसदा है कि उन्होंने कितनी प्रैक्टिस की। एंड आई वाज सो ओवरजॉयड कि गुरु साहब ने साडी जिहड़ी है अरदास नूं कबूल किया। उन्होंने प्यार की गल की सी, वैसे गल सारी वो कहते 100 हथ रस्सा ते सिरे ते गंढ इहो ही है भी प्यार। सानू प्यार नहीं करना आउंदा। असीं फिल्मां देख देख के सिख लिया, अखां तेरियां इहो जिहियां ते नक इहो जिहा, माफ करना। पर साहिब ने जदों बनाया ही गुरु ने हर बंदे नूं, फिर वो सोहना ते ना सोहना किवें होया? ते सोहणे दी परिभाषा आपां गुरु तो पुछीए भी सोहना कौन हुंदा है, ते सोहना जिहड़ा सोहना है कुरूप कौन हुंदा है? ते साहिब दे अनुसार कहंदे भावें वो ਧਨਵੰਤ ਹੋਵੇ, ਭਾਵੇਂ ਕੁਲਵੰਤ ਹੋਵੇ, ਭਾਵੇਂ ਉੱਚੀ ਕੁਲ 'ਚ ਜੰਮਿਆ ਹੋਵੇ, ਭਾਵੇਂ ਸੋਹਣਾ ਸੁਨੱਖਾ ਹੋਵੇ, ਉਹ ਬਹੁਤ ਕਰੂਪ ਹੈ ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਹਿਰਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਗੁਰੂ ਦਾ ਪਿਆਰ ਨਹੀਂ। ਮਤਲਬ